I want to take y'all back a short time period ago. Think about July of 1862. So at this time, we know Abe Lincoln is the president, and the Civil War is running rampant at this point. Lincoln ran on a platform in 1860 to emancipate slavery. And so in one cabinet meeting in July of 1862, he had already composed the Emancipation Proclamation over a period of time, and he read it to his cabinet. To the likes of his cabinet, they understood his message and his intention, but they believed now was not the time to issue it. Some of the members called it a Hail Mary, and one even called it a desperate last attempt by an exhausted government. Lincoln was a very faithful man, so in his humbleness, he understood what they were saying. At this time, they had not been winning. Stonewall Jackson was getting a hold of the Shenandoah Valley. Lee had won the 7 Days Battle and was getting ready to take over Richmond. There were earlier attempts to combat slavery, only they didn't do their intended purpose. And not to mention at this time, Lincoln had also just lost his second child at a very young age. But as I stated before, Lincoln was a faithful man, and he remained faithful during this time. So he suffered as a president, but he still remained faithful. This man grew up attending church and would even, at the end of sermons on Sunday, he had a tree stump outside of his house where he would recite the entire sermon verbatim. So his patience would pay off, and finally, after the Battle of Antietam, poised by the marginal victory of what is called the bloodiest day in history, in American history, he would read the preliminary proclamation in September of 1862 for it to take place the following year. But as we know, that didn't solve it immediately, and these tribulations weighed heavy on Lincoln. A man who remained faithful and suffered, you would probably not recognize if I showed you a photo of him pre-president and post-president. And so as the battles continued, and even the famous Second Battle of Bull Run, where it appeared the Confederates were gaining control again, and there was no good news coming from meetings with the War Department. There was one particular time that Lincoln was seen leaving for private time with his small withered Bible. When he came back from his private time, a former enslaved lady named Elizabeth Keckley, I think that's how you say her last name, she saw the president more cheerful, and she wanted to know what he was reading that could comfort him in this time, and after being engrossed, she found out it was the story of Job. Or he's reading from the book of Job. And so if you can turn to the book of Job, I'll be reading out of the 42nd chapter. And so we always remember the story of Job, a faithful man who loses everything. God purposely makes him suffer. And now, to my mistake of scheduling, I thought I was supposed to do my invitation 2 weeks ago. When I found out it was Ian, then I was the next week, and then I asked David to switch with me. So I had time to not only go through the whole book again, but I also listened to it again. And I went through so many verses to think about what could he be meditating on, praying on, reading through to find comfort in such a time. As much as I try to look at it, I really like the end, the beginning of chapter 42, at the very end, right before God restores everything, right as Job and God have that final conversation where God reminds him of everything that he can do. And then finally, beginning in verse 1 in chapter 42, Job just answers to the Lord. I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have declared that which I do not understand, things too wonderful for me which I do not know. Hear now, and I will speak. I will ask you, and you instruct me. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore I retract and I repent in dust and ashes. So no matter our suffering, we are to remain faithful. God has his plan for us, and there's no plans that do not involve him. There is no suffering without him, just as there is no praising without him. What is your suffering? Is it cancer? Is it losing a job? Is it hoping for a promotion, losing family members? Is it some form of addiction? Having our faith tested? Needless to say, I'm not only reminded in the Bible, I see how Lincoln remembering to trust in God during one of the most important times in American history. So I always want to remind not only myself, but everyone else, read his word, pray to him, sing to him, ask him for wisdom, pray for his will to be done. And we're always reminded, most importantly, to repent and be baptized. And so if there's anyone suffering any longer, or who needs any prayers or to be baptized, come forth as we stand and sing.